Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that's going to help you become your best self. And today we're going to be talking about dealing with things not going your way. I was surprised that when I decided to do this episode that I hadn't already done it before because this is probably sound bad, but I feel like I am regularly speaking to myself or trusted close people like my therapist about how frustrating it can be when things are not going my way, but not trying to complain too much. You know what I mean? Have that equal level of being able to vent, yet be able to still be grateful. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Before we do that, I do want to invite you to come over to my Instagram and say hi to me, send me a DM, become friends. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear any comments or suggestions, feedback, whatever you'd like. And all of the details for finding me at Sabrina Joy Perozzo is down in the show notes. Or if you prefer to send me an email, I would love to read that too. Again, information is down in the show notes for how to get in touch with me, and I cannot wait to hear from you. So let's just jump straight into the episode. Again, today we are talking about dealing with things not going our way. So I kind of feel like things haven't gone the way that I hoped for my entire life a majority of the time. And I'm not seeking any sort of sympathy about this either, because it's becoming pretty clear to me that it's good things, didn't turn out the way that I wanted to. It's great news. It's positive. I am not complaining. I mean, sometimes I am, I did mention at the top that there are definitely times where I want to just vent and be like, I don't understand why they didn't go the way that I wanted. It feels like everything was planned so perfectly. Everything was set up. I was given promises and guarantees that this is how this would turn out if I did this, that, and the other. You do your due diligence and you think, hey, what could go wrong here? And then things go wrong. But they go wrong in your perspective. But in reality, it went right because it didn't go the way that you thought, which, a lot of times can turn out not being the right way. And we all create a plan for our lives and think we are the best architect for that job. Absolutely. Like, I'm sure you're patting yourself on the back right now. Like, yeah, I am the best because we know ourselves best, right? And believe that we can come up with the best options because it's supposed to be all about what we enjoy and what we think would be best suited for us, right? And, I'm here to tell you that this isn't correct. And as much as I would love to tell you that it is correct, that we would be able to design the best life for ourselves, it's just not true. It's just not true. This isn't correct because we don't know everything, right? A lot of us believe that we know everything. Unfortunately, that's not true either. We don't know everything. We just don't, even about ourselves, which when I was writing these notes, it's very interesting for me to admit that we don't know everything about ourselves, which makes sense because a lot of times I am speaking about how you should take the time to get to know yourself, to understand yourself more, to really dive deep into understanding why you react a certain way, why you have emotions that are deeper than others, and what triggers you, all of these things, so that you are better suited to maybe be in control of yourself a little better and to sometimes be able to prevent you from falling into these really big emotional experiences. But it's not all bad. But regardless, I digress. We just don't know ourselves completely. And we probably won't know that until the end of our lives. And then we're in heaven and we're thinking, oh, wow, I turned out way different than I anticipated. But we just don't know ourselves and we don't know everything. And you know why this is? It's because a really big reason why we don't know is because we change. We change. It's that simple. We change with time, with pressures on us, experiences, different opportunities, the people that come in and out of our lives, all those things contribute to our change and contribute to us not knowing how things are going to go, how our life is going to turn out, because we don't know when new opportunities or experiences are coming. We don't know what people are going to pop in and out of our lives. We just don't know. There's no way for us to know. And it all affects us. So we can't expect for the choices we made about our lives and the way it should go when we were 10, 15, 19, or even 25. If that's an age close to where you are. That's like 10 years ago for me, but still, it feels close. It feels like, oh yeah, it was only 10 years ago where I thought this is what's going to happen. And then your life's in a different direction than you would ever expected. Or maybe it's right on track, right? Maybe it was kind of off in the beginning and now it's kind of on track with what you think because you are aligning with who you are and what you're all about. Or maybe you are taking less worry and control over the situation, that you're just letting it develop as it should, and it just feels like everything is aligning. So you just don't know, and it's definitely not going to turn out always the way that it was when you had planned it. When we were, again, 15, 19, or 25, to be the ones that direct our lives forever. Like, we just can't. And it's fun to dream, and it's fun to anticipate and plan for what we want, but we have to understand that there are ups and downs and all kinds of twists and turns in life, which is fun. It's fun if you have the right perspective to think of it as fun, right? Which we don't always have that. I admit, neither do I. And the other thing that has, really been nagging on me is timing. We think we know the best timing for everything, but we don't. Because we'll go through our lives, we'll plan like, okay, well, this is when I want to go to college, and this is when I want to meet my partner, and this is when I want to have kids, and this is when I want to land my dream job, or, graduate with my master's degree, or from whatever school, doing whatever thing. And we think we know the best timing, but we don't. We couldn't possibly know this because we don't know what learning lessons, what mistakes, or failures are going to show up and change us for the better. We just don't. And I talk about that a lot, how all of these failures and mistakes, how we like to categorize them, are really just the best learning opportunities that we could ever get, because a lot of those things are negative experiences that we would not willingly bring upon ourselves because it wouldn't be fun and you wouldn't enjoy it and it's not comfortable and, again, not appealing, not fun. So when we run into these things that are negative or not in our best mind, I was going to say best interest, but it actually isn't our best interest. It's not in our best, desired thoughts, not top of mind kind of things for ourselves. But there's no way to predict these things. So it's so good. It's so good in hindsight, of course, that these things come into our lives and make us better people. And again, we shouldn't worry about wanting to predict these things. I know that a lot of time I would spend worrying about it because I would just let my anxiety run rampant, worrying about when things are going to fall apart. I even struggle with that now. I'm when things are going really, really, really well in my life, really, really well, I struggle with feeling okay, I'm just going to wait for the other shoe to drop. But that's not the way we should be living. We should just be, enjoying life and not worrying and trying to predict when bad things are going to happen. So the point is to go through the experience, good, bad, middle, whatever, and come out the other side with new knowledge, new experiences, and hopefully a new mindset. I would really hope all of those things for you: knowledge, experiences, and a new mindset. Because if you just come out with knowledge and experiences and you have the same mindset, I don't think that you've fully taken the opportunity to grow from that experience, because you haven't decided to see the world or part of the world differently, which is really important, because if we are continually having the same perspective and mindset on everything for the rest of our lives, we won't grow and change and be accepting and learn more about other people, other experiences, other opportunities. There's just no way. There's no way if we keep the same mindset. We have to grow and change. That helps us become better people, just so you know. So now that we have laid the groundwork of understanding why we shouldn't beat ourselves up for the choices we have made in the past on our path, because, again, there is no way for us to know what kind of experiences are going to come along for us, and we shouldn't worry about that. And we don't even know ourselves well enough 10 years ago to plan for everything that's supposed to happen in our entire life. There's just no way. I want us to talk about dealing with those things we really, really wanted to work out for us, but just didn't. They just didn't. It's unfortunate, right? It's a bummer, I would say. That's the thing I say a lot. Oh, that didn't work out. What a bummer. But it's good, though. It can be really good. There's, this is going to be cheesy, but there's a reason for everything. Yep, it's super cliche, cheesy phrase, and the most cliche thing to say, especially in this, but it's still true, you know? Everything happens for a reason. I know a lot of people don't believe this because they're like, oh no, everything's pre-planned. And yes, I do believe that God has planned out everything because He knows what we're going to do before we even do it, before we even decide to do it. But it's happening because it needs to happen, whether it's good or bad. And you might counter with, well, there's terrible things that happen. Those are supposed to happen. In a way, yeah, but God has also given us free will. And so sometimes things will just happen. People will do things that aren't really the best things to do, but it works out in the way that it needs to. And God will make beautiful things, even from the most tragic experiences, right? I believe that, and that is what gives me hope and faith that I can continue on day after day despite what I've gone through. And I know a lot of other people believe that too. But again, there is a reason for everything. And again, it's true. It's cheesy, but it's true. And you can't deny truth. So no matter how cheesy it just is true. But there is a reason that you didn't end up with that deadbeat partner, right? I think back to this a lot of times where there was a guy that came along like right before my husband did. And I thought, oh, this might be it. He is so sweet, charismatic, responsible, great guy. He did end up getting married and having multiple kids, and they're doing fine, but that wasn't what was meant for me. And I know that now. And of course, then I didn't realize that, but kind of did because we ended up not staying together. But there's a reason why you didn't end up with that person, or you didn't end up with that deadbeat person that you didn't realize was a deadbeat until later after you left them, or was in the middle of it and you had to move on. There's a reason why you didn't get that, what you thought was going to be a great dream job, right? There's a reason you had to move back home. There's a reason you didn't get into that specific college. This is true for me because I originally wanted to go to UW in Seattle, and that was my dream. It's funny because it's actually my husband's dream too. But we both delayed applying for college, and then we ended up going to the same college, and it was like, oh, it was meant to be. But yeah, there's a reason why you didn't get into that college, and there's a reason that you did gain a bunch of weight, right? And there's a reason that you lost the competition, that you lost your job or anything else. And all of these things don't sound fun or enjoyable or anything that you really want to be a part of, but there's a reason. And for sure, it doesn't feel good while it's happening. Of course, I'm the first person to admit that to you because we are real here. We are being real and vulnerable and honest and authentic. And I'm here to tell you, yeah, it sucks. But you're being protected from other things in the process. I hope you see that. I hope you're able to take some time, step back with your perspective, and analyze things that you thought were supposed to go one way and they didn't, and they went another way, and how you're so super grateful that they didn't go that way. You were protected from worse things happening, even if that situation wasn't great. And I know that it's not comforting in the moment to try to think about well, this isn't working out because I'm probably being protected from something, I know it's not comforting. But if you reflect back on your life, again, you will be able to see where those path changes happened and how it's good that it did. Super good, amazing, awesome. So you have to be confident that you will be able to do that with these current disappointments that you are dealing with now. And you will. You just have to believe and have faith that you'll be able to get through that disappointing time. And I believe that the more that you do it and practice this, of being able to shift out of being disappointed or upset that something didn't work out the way that you wanted it to, it'll be easier to move through those disappointed feelings over time. And yeah, it's not easy, but it does get easier. And, it gets easier also once you stop relying on yourself to make all the decisions and choose the right path and trust God is on your side, because He is. He absolutely is. So here are some, even after all of that, here are some helpful tips for getting through dealing with things not going your way, because I know that giving you a motivational speech, which is kind of what I just did, about it is helpful, sure. But actual action steps are preferable. So I have 5 quick ones for you to round out talking about how to deal with things just not going your way, which really sucks. Again, first person to tell you that. So the first tip I have for you is ask yourself, what did you learn from the experience up until the point it ended? So let's use the example of applying for a college, okay? So you applied for a college and you wanted to go there, but maybe you didn't get accepted, or maybe you didn't apply in time, or you didn't get your money in time, like your loans and such. So you just couldn't go to that one. Ask yourself, what did you learn from that experience up until that point? Did you learn of did you research what fun things were to do in that city? Did you research how easy it would be to get from your dorm room to the cafeteria? Yep. Or how you would want to arrange your room based upon the dimensions in the dorm room. Did you, research how much it would cost to fly out there? Or, how their whole education system is set up and how you would have to earn these credits and how you would be able to study and whether or not you'd be able to get a part-time or full-time job, or all of these things. What did you learn? And maybe you were like, oh yeah, I learned all this trivial stuff that doesn't matter. Well, maybe it does matter, because maybe you can still reapply for next semester or next year, and that information and that research is already done. Or maybe instead of going to that school, maybe there's another school that you can still go to in that area. And you've already learned all of this information that you could probably mostly transfer over. Or maybe you just learned the process of getting ready to go to a school, and now you just need to take all of that experience of doing all that research and transfer it into applying for a different school. Or let's say that you applied for a job and you didn't get it, and it was like a job that you really wanted, right? And this has happened to me before, of course. I feel like it's happened to everyone, where you apply for the job, you find it, you apply for the job, or before that, you really work on your resume, you apply, you go and interview. Maybe you interview a couple times and that really gets your hopes up, because you're like, wow, if they really ask me to come back so many times and meet different people, they must really mean business, right? And then you get the call and you're like, yeah, sorry, we chose someone else. And so you're really disappointed and you're like, what did I do? And you blame it all on yourself. But then you need to, instead of doing that, you can be sad for a moment, be sad for a little bit. That's okay. It's your emotions, it's your feelings. You are entitled to have those, but then really ask yourself, what did you learn? Did you learn to really deeply research a company so that you be fully prepared for an interview? Did you learn how to better, do your resume and get that all pumped up and ready for the next job interview and applying for other positions? Were you able to really work on your interviewing skills because you interviewed so many times for the same job with different people, and you're able to change your answers or have better answers, or really come up afterwards after those interviews and be like, man, I should have answered this way because it would have been better, would have been stronger, right? What experiences did you learn from that up until the point where it ended? That can be really, really helpful and help you stay more on the lighter side of getting through the rejection of it not happening, of that thing not going the way you wanted it. Number 2, realize that others are dealing with this too. They are. I know this is simple and you're like, oh, this is annoying. Okay, it can be an annoying tip, but you have to understand that you're not the only person. A lot of times we think that we go through really hard things and we think that we're on an island alone dealing with it. When in reality, there are so many other people before us that have dealt with that exact same problem. Even if it's super unique, generally that's true, or that are dealing with it right now, or will deal with it in the future. So understand that you're not alone. Other people are dealing with being let down or things not happening the way that they wanted, and we're all dealing with it, and we're all moving forward as quickly as we can to the next thing, and it's going to be okay. So the third one is to feel free to vent about how you are feeling to someone you trust, but don't dwell on the situation too long. I mentioned earlier in the episode that it's totally fine to vent. It's totally fine to be upset. And I do want to remind you of this often. It's totally fine to be upset about something. That is not a big deal. But it's more of how long are you going to dwell in those negative feelings? How long are you going to, as I say all the time, sit in that pit of despair and feel sorry for yourself and act like a victim? There is no need for you to do that. You need to get out your feelings. Share with someone that you can trust. about how you feel, how sad you are, how this is disappointing, how you feel like you did so much work leading up to this one thing and it didn't work out, and you feel negative about what could happen in the future or going forward, and then move on. Because if you dwell in the situation for too long, all you'll continually see is that darkness. It'll be a lot harder for the light to reach you. It'll be a lot harder for you to move on and be able to actually achieve things that you wanted or bigger things that you didn't even realize were there and ready and waiting for you. That's the beautiful thing. You don't understand how amazing things are already waiting for us. We just have to get through there. We just have to get past these things that we think that we want, we think that are best for us, when in reality, something 10 times better is waiting for us. It is. And we just need to realize that that could be the case. And maybe it's not right away, but it is some time afterwards. I believe that. Even if it's something that you never even realized was the better choice, you will realize that one time, for sure. So, number 4 is to be open to the direction you are actually headed in rather than mourn where you are going or wanting to go. So, quickly, be open to this new direction that you're being pushed in or you're being forced to go down. Let's go back to the example of applying for a job that you really, really wanted, doing all that work to get ready for it, and then didn't work out. Well, let's say that you did put your resume in for so many other jobs and some random one that you kind of forgot that you even applied for, you didn't realize that would make any difference. They give you a call and they want you to interview for it. And you're like, still super disappointed that you didn't get hired on at the one place that you really liked. But I encourage you to be open to that direction because you never know what could be there waiting for you again. And so let's say that this job is like only partially within the field that you really want to work in. And maybe like you went to school for this very specific thing. And so this other job that you applied for is like only partially related kind of. But what if it is so perfect for you because they are looking for someone that specializes in what you know. And the reason that they are not fully aligned with what you want to do is because they're new to it or they're newly getting into it. And they want to bring on an expert. They want to bring on someone that's been educated in the things that you know. And they're looking at you and they want you. And it's a big opportunity and it's more money, it's more flexibility. Or maybe it's not, maybe it's less. But it's still good. And it's good experience, good opportunity for you to meet people, good way to get into that same scene that you want to be in, but an easier way, less competitive way. So you never know. So I want you to be open to the direction that you are headed in and don't spend too much time mourning on the fact that you didn't get that job, that you didn't, end up with that person or that person didn't call you back for a second date or you didn't get into that school or, it just didn't work out. Maybe you applied to do like a volunteer position and that just didn't work out either, right? Or maybe you had a hobby and you thought that you loved it and then it didn't pan out. It didn't give you as much joy as you thought. That definitely happened to me too. Go in the direction that you're kind of being led in and see what's there for you. Check it out. Don't throw it all away. Don't try to put a barrier up just because what you wanted didn't work out because you never know what could be so amazing for you. Okay, number 5. So let's wrap this up. The last one I want to talk about is I want you to remember to be grateful for what is going well in the way you want in your life. A lot of times we spend so many aching moments being upset about what didn't happen and forgetting that we need to continually be grateful for what is going well and the things that we did want to happen in our life, and those are happening, right? So for me, I spend a lot of time being upset, which I'm working on, about not having my dream job that I wanted to. I went to school and I majored in psychology, I minored in youth ministries. I wanted to be a middle school youth pastor, but also work in child psychology to be a child psychologist. That was my goal. That was my dream since I was 10 years old. And then, I got into college and I still loved it, but then I ran out of money and I got married. And then my dreams kind of were chopped into little pieces sprinkled into the toilet, and then eventually someone flushed it. And it's been very sad, and it's been something that I have been mourning for a long time. But there are so many things that are going so well in my life. I have a wonderful husband. I'm super grateful for him. And that's what I wanted. Someone to love and care for me, and someone that I can love and care for. And we're just like a perfect, not perfect duo. We're a great duo. And we learn and grow from each other all the time. I have a wonderful child. I'm so grateful for her. She teaches me so many new things too. She's amazing. And we have a good home. I'm able to work from home. I'm working a job that I didn't expect to work ever in my entire life, but still enjoyable, and I have great people on our team. Things are going well. I'm able to sing on worship team at my church, which is something that I would have loved to do, but I was scared to do until someone encouraged me to try it out, and it worked out, So there are so many things that are going well in my life that I am trying to continually be grateful for all the time and not focus solely on not finishing my degree and doing my dream job, because who knows if that's what I actually would want to do. Thinking about it now, today, recently, I don't want to do that. I do want to be a middle school youth pastor, which I am working on, trying to get the bravery to talk to someone at church to, help out with youth, because that'd be super fun. But in regards to being a child psychologist, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that anymore. I really don't. It's just not my dream anymore. My dream is to help a bigger portion of people than that, and to not help in such a clinical way. I love reading about clinical things. I love learning about it, of course, but I don't want to do that with my life anymore. And I'm grateful that I didn't spend all that money to learn all those things and do it, because I feel like I probably would have enjoyed it, but I don't think I would enjoy it as much as the life that I have right now. And my life right now is great. Still a little rocky and bumpy, figuring things out as we all are all the time, but it's really good. And I'm really enjoying it. So I'm continually reminding myself to be grateful for the wonderful things that are happening in my life, and knowing that everything else is going to work out. It's going to work out in the best way that it can. And I just have to wait and be patient and continue to be diligent in the things that I currently am doing and know that I should be doing. So that's all I want to say. That's all 5 tips. And I really hope this has helped you tremendously in dealing with things not going your way, because it sucks, but we all go through it. And hopefully this will help you to not fall and sit so long and so deeply in that pit of despair. But thank you so much for listening, downloading, and sharing the show. Again, you are listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. Again, I would love to hear from you. Send me a DM on Instagram. I'm at Sabrina Joy Perozzo, or I'd love to get an email from you, whichever you prefer. You can send the email to realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. All of that information is in the show notes below. Thank you so much. I love you guys, and I can't wait to chat with you again soon. So until next time, have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.